Title: The Boy in the Box, 1957. Part 1. The Boy Nobody Could Identify. It was a freezing February morning in 1957. The quiet outskirts of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, looked peaceful. The trees were bare. A cold wind swept across the empty road. Nothing seemed unusual, until a young college student was driving along a lonely country road. He noticed a cardboard box lying in the bushes beside the road. At first, he ignored it. He had seen people dump trash there before. But something about the box didn't feel right. He slowed down, then drove away. Hours later, another man passed the same road. He stopped his car. Curiosity got the better of him. He walked toward the box. The closer he got, the quieter everything seemed. When he opened it, he froze. Inside was the lifeless body of a little boy. The child looked only 4 or 5 years old. He had blonde hair. His small body had been carefully placed inside the box. There was no blanket, no toys, no note, nothing that could reveal who he was. Police quickly arrived. The area became a crime scene. Detectives searched every inch of the road. They expected someone to report a missing child. Hours passed, then days, then weeks. But no one came forward. No parents, no relatives, no missing person report. It was as if the little boy had never existed. The newspapers gave him a heartbreaking name: The Boy in the Box. A name that would become one of America's greatest unsolved mysteries. But detectives had no idea. The strangest discoveries were still waiting for them. Part 2. The Hidden Clues. The discovery of the little boy shocked the entire city. Police believed it would only take a few days to identify him. After all, surely someone was looking for a missing child. But they were wrong. As detectives carefully examined the boy, they noticed several strange details. His blonde hair had been cut recently. Tiny pieces of freshly trimmed hair were still stuck to his body, suggesting someone had given him a haircut not long before his death. Then came another mystery. The child's fingernails were clean. His body had been washed. It looked as if someone had carefully cleaned him before leaving him inside the cardboard box. Why would a killer do that? Was it guilt? Or was someone trying to erase evidence? The medical examiner continued the examination. The boy appeared to be around 4 to 6 years old. He was small for his age and showed signs that he may have suffered from poor nutrition over a long period. There were also several old scars on his body. They weren't fresh. They had healed weeks or even months earlier. Detectives began to wonder, had this child been abused for a long time, or had he lived a difficult life before his death? One detail disturbed investigators more than anything else. The boy's fingerprints revealed nothing. No school records, no hospital records, no birth registration. No missing child report matched his description. It was as if he had never officially existed. Then detectives examined the cardboard box itself. Printed on the side was the name of a company that had manufactured a baby bassinet. It wasn't much, but it was the first real clue in the case. Investigators hoped the box might lead them to the person who had left the child there. Little did they know, this small cardboard box would send them on one of the largest investigations in American history. Part 3. The investigation that shocked America. The discovery of the little boy quickly became national news. Newspapers across the United States printed his photograph. His face appeared on front pages from coast to coast. Police believed someone, somewhere, would recognize him. Thousands of copies of the boy's picture were distributed to police stations, schools, hospitals, orphanages, and churches. Radio stations interrupted their regular programs to describe the child. Television broadcasts asked one heartbreaking question: does anyone know this little boy? The response was overwhelming. Within days, thousands of phone calls began pouring into police headquarters. Some callers believed the child was their missing neighbor. Others claimed they had seen him in another city. Every lead sounded promising. Every clue gave investigators hope. Detectives worked day and night. They traveled across several states. They interviewed hundreds of families. They checked orphanages, foster homes, hospitals, schools, even circuses and traveling carnivals. Every possible lead was investigated, but one by one. Every clue ended in disappointment. No one could identify the boy. Then investigators focused on the cardboard box. They traced it to a store that had sold baby bassinets. After weeks of investigation, police managed to narrow the purchase to a small group of customers. Finally, it seemed they were getting close. Detectives questioned every possible buyer. But once again, the trail suddenly went cold. No suspect, no witness, no missing child report. Nothing. Months passed. The investigation became one of the largest child identification cases in American history. Yet despite all the effort, the little boy still had no name. And just when detectives thought they had reached a dead end, a mysterious woman walked into the investigation with a story that would divide public opinion for decades. Part 4. The woman known only as M. For years, the investigation seemed to be going nowhere. The little boy still had no name, no family, no answers. Then, in the early 2000s, detectives received a surprising phone call. A woman agreed to speak with investigators, but only if her real identity remained secret. Police referred to her simply as Mim. At first, detectives were skeptical. Over the years, hundreds of people had claimed to know the truth. Most stories turned out to be false. But this woman's account was different. She claimed that many years earlier, her family had secretly adopted a young boy. According to her, the child was around the same age as the boy in the box. He had blonde hair, blue eyes, and often appeared frightened. M said the boy was treated terribly inside the house. He was rarely allowed to play with other children. He was often hungry and lived in constant fear. Then came the most shocking part of her story. One evening, during dinner, the boy accidentally vomited his food. M claimed her abusive mother became furious. She allegedly beat the child so severely that he died. According to her account, the family panicked. Instead of calling the police, they placed the boy's body inside a cardboard box, then drove through the night, leaving him alone beside a quiet road outside Philadelphia. When detectives heard the story, they were stunned. Some details she described matched facts that had never been made public. But there was one problem. There was almost no physical evidence left to prove her claims. No witnesses, no documents, no DNA available at the time to confirm her story. Some investigators believed M was finally telling the truth. Others believed her memories might have been influenced by trauma or the passage of time. To this day, no one knows for certain whether her story was real or simply another heartbreaking theory. But decades later, modern science would finally give investigators one last chance to uncover the truth. Part 5. The DNA Breakthrough. For decades, the little boy had only one name: the boy in the box. Investigators never stopped hoping that one day, science would succeed where thousands of interviews had failed. That day finally arrived, more than 60 years after the boy was found. Advances in DNA technology gave detectives a new chance. Experts carefully preserved samples taken from the child's remains. Using modern forensic science, they created a DNA profile unlike anything possible in 1957. But having DNA wasn't enough. The challenge was finding someone to compare it with. Investigators turned to genetic genealogy, a revolutionary method that had already helped solve several cold cases. Instead of searching for the boy directly, they searched for distant relatives. Tiny pieces of shared DNA began connecting family trees. Slowly, a hidden family history started to emerge. Genealogists spent months comparing birth records, census records, marriage certificates, and family histories. Each new discovery brought them closer to the truth. Finally, in 2022, investigators announced a breakthrough. After 65 years, they had identified the little boy. His name was Joseph Augustus Zarelli. For the first time in history, the child who had once been known only as the boy in the box finally had his real name back. The announcement made headlines around the world. People who had followed the mystery for decades felt both relief and sadness. The greatest mystery had finally answered one question. Who was he? But the biggest question still remained. What really happened to Joseph Augustus Zarelli? Who was responsible for his death? And why had no one reported him missing? Even after discovering his identity, the case was far from over. Part 6, final. The truth. We still don't know. In 2022, after 65 long years, the little boy finally had his name back. Joseph Augustus Zarelli. For many people, it felt like the mystery had finally been solved, but in reality, only one question had been answered. Who was he? The most important question still remained. Who killed Joseph? And why? Investigators reopened the case with renewed determination. They interviewed surviving relatives, reviewed decades-old records, re-examined forgotten evidence, and searched for anyone who might still remember the little boy. Detectives believe Joseph likely lived a difficult and isolated life before his death. However, they have not publicly identified a killer, and no one has been charged in connection with his death. Some people still believe the story told by the woman known as M. Others think Joseph may have died under completely different circumstances. There is no public evidence that conclusively proves any one theory. That is why investigators continue to ask the public for information. Every forgotten memory, every old photograph, every family story could still help reveal what happened. Today, Joseph Augustus Zarelli is no longer an unknown child. His name has been restored. His story has been heard around the world, but justice has not yet been served. Some mysteries end when a name is found. This one did not, because identifying Joseph was only the beginning. Finding the truth about his death is the chapter that still remains unwritten. Perhaps someone, somewhere, still knows exactly what happened in 1957, and until that person speaks, the final secret of the boy in the box may remain hidden forever.